Hello. Hello. I was thinking recently, I think it's pretty typical for a lot of people who make YouTube videos after they finish high school to make a tier rating of AP classes or the college application process, things like that. I have made videos like that and they're really helpful. However, I was thinking specifically about videos I would have liked to exist during my senior year of high school when I was trying to figure out how to apply to film school, all that jazz, because it's hard. It took a lot of time and it was exhausting. And while there were some super informative videos, there wasn't like a walkthrough of portfolios, which I personally think could be pretty valuable and also pretty niche. So I understand if you click away. If you stay, hi, I'm Maya. Just in case this reaches a different audience, which is probable, my pronouns are she, they, and I am from Aurora, Colorado. I will be attending Chapman University in the fall of 2022. I believe I applied to 9 schools total, and I got into every school I applied to except for UCLA, and I applied for film production for all of those programs. But today we're going to talk about USC portfolios, because I think USC, as the #1 film school for undergrads, is probably a place where a lot of people are looking at or hoping to get into. Maybe it's a dream or reach school. I'm going to talk about why I'm not going, which I have done in a previous video, but I'm also going to talk about what I did to get in. Most of these schools you will apply to a version of the Common App. The Common App is somewhere that centralizes things like your personal essay, your demographic information, your financial information, your FAFSA. It stores all of that and makes it accessible to multiple colleges. It also provides space for colleges to give specific questions. So for example, for some reason USC was like, what's your favorite snack? And I was like, what do you want me to say? Don't try too hard to be interesting on those questions. My favorite snack that I put was tea and toast. And this was pre-Harry's house. So either I'm a prophet or Harry Styles read my college application. Apart from the Common App, something important to know about applying to film school is usually there will be an additional application where you're applying to the school and sometimes even to a specific subcategory within the school. USC. I'm applying to USC, but I'm specifically applying to SCA, the School of Cinematic Arts, and within that I wanted to specialize in post-production or editing. So today I'm going to read through all of my answers to everything. I know this puts me at the risk of being plagiarized. I know that happened to some girl at Chicago. Don't do that! That's mean! That won't do you any favors, and you will suffer my vitriol for the rest of your life. So on that note, we're gonna start with the collaboration question. They want an example of one that went really poorly and one that went really well. My AP Euro teacher gets a kick out of warm-up questions. This past Tuesday, how many people does it take to make a pizza? Some students said 1, others 2. The correct answer though was closer to 500. A cheesy slice, New York and Chicago alike, requires more than a baker. We have to take into account the hands that milked the cow, the people who transported tomatoes to the market, the culinary scientists who determined the exact temperature of a firing oven. Audiobook production follows a similar train. On the surface, it's a lonely endeavor. One voice reading sequestered away in one room for way more than 1 hour. My only immediate companion in the process is chamomile tea. However, the reality of bringing books to earbuds is incredibly collaborative. This was especially true for me in the production of the novel The Elephant Squirrel, a middle-grade fantasy by Celeste Remington. An adventure spanning a girl's quest to find her family, The Elephant Squirrel also features important conversations about environmentalism, the morality of zoos, diversity, and chosen family. Before I had the opportunity to narrate this book, I went through an audition process, communicating maybe a little too incessantly with a talent scout. The following 4 months consisted of me bundled up in a sweater adjusting audio levels. I read day and night into the glare of a laptop screen. Technical problems were abundant. Thankfully, my tech-savvy dad was ready to help whenever he could. Next came the most important step, quality assurance. One listener confirmed I accurately dictated each and every word that had come out of Remington's brain. Others checked for proper inflection, accent accuracy, and tone. My 7 years of Spanish class were put to the test as I relayed the dialogue of a Latina character. To my delight, I only had to look up one word. By the time the book was out of my hands, it had been passed along to at least a dozen more people in charge of post-production, reverb levels, spacing, and rendering. We are, all of us, volunteers for Learning Ally. Meeting fellow literacy advocates nationwide, from retirees to kids to working parents, has been incredible. While all of my projects with the organization have been wonderful in their own way, The Elephant Squirrel presented me with more challenges and learning opportunities than all the rest. It was a privilege to collaborate to create the best production possible, making common cause for accessible storytelling. Voice acting is certainly a large part of my life, but live theater has been a constant since childhood. I've screamed about squirrels as Veruca Salt and tidied nurseries as Mary Poppins. My favorite role of all time was the male drinking companion of Alfred P. Doolittle in the Denver Jewish Community Center's production of My Fair Lady. As a 14-year-old cis girl, which is how I identified at the time I wrote this, not so much anymore, it was quite the adventure. The collaborative nature of theater is apparent in every rehearsal and performance. Actors are schooled by directors, choreographers, and musicians. Technicians program lights and control sound, build sets, and tear them down again. It's profoundly rewarding. My experience in the school musical during my sophomore year, though, was significantly less so. At the beginning of 2019, Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton was riding out its wave of mass popularity. A film's production was rumored to arrive in summer 2020, and a critical presidential election would take place the following school year. My theater teacher was inspired. She decided the best possible show for us was 1776 the musical. 1776 chronicles the creation of the Declaration of Independence in hot as hell, Philadelphia. Originally, the show featured an all-white, all-male cast, with the exception of 2 white women portraying Abigail Adams and Martha Jefferson. In the spirit of Hamilton, my teacher decided our musical would feature a gender-bent, race-blind cast. And this seems like an amazing idea. The previous year, Grandview High School had made waves for its production of Hairspray, encouraging more students of color to join the program. We were all hesitant about the 1776 story itself, but excited for the message the show could convey. And so we began. John Adams was a black senior boy, John Hancock a white senior girl. I was cast as Joseph Hughes, a pro-slavery representative from North Carolina. My friend, a black senior girl, was Edward Rutledge. Frankly, none of us were familiar with this man or his legacy. At the read-through, though, we learned quickly. He was the most pro-slavery of all of the characters in the show. In fact, my friend would have to sing Molasses to Rum, describing the beautiful waltz that was chattel slavery. The lyrics are disgusting. She would have to stand on a chair, alone, center stage, and reenact an auction of enslaved black people. This was her senior year of high school, her last show in a program she loved. She was not consulted before the cast list came out about her comfort level. Services were not provided throughout rehearsals. Conversations about the extreme racial themes in our show were ignored outright. Teachers were more interested in making a statement than protecting their students. Our final Saturday rehearsal arrived. My friend broke down in the middle of her solo, in the middle of the stage, a whip sound cracking from the pit below. For the next 2 days, we circled up in the band room, deciding whether or not to go on with the show. Our teacher refused to give us her words. Our principal told us we would be quitters if we chose to cancel the production. Grandview Wolves, she said, are not quitters. Several of us walked out. Eventually, my friend decided she would do the show. But our performance was riddled with hurt and trauma, which was glossed over. We entered final bows, hands clasped, knowing we had been failed by our school. At student equity meetings, black and brown students discussed how vulnerable they felt in the theater program. Many students of color stopped auditioning for shows. Our program has been permanently scarred because we didn't care adequately for one another. The contrast between these two collaborative experiences, but especially the latter, has taught me the true value of communication. Trust is non-negotiable when working with friends, strangers, and fellow artists. Ensuring all parties feel heard and safe is more important than any final product. Going forward, I hope my projects will be grounded in empathy, both between collaborators and in regard to our final message. Experimentation and adventure will always be the goal, but humanity will remain at its core. I am far more concerned with loving people than generating something people can love. Especially in filmmaking, composed of so many people belonging to so many specialties, constantly communicating, providing space for exploration, and reflecting are key. Everyone, from the coffee-running intern I will inevitably be, to the director weighed down with recognition, deserves to be safe, engaged, and heard throughout the process. We work better when we love each other. So that was my collaboration question for USC. We're going to move on to the next section, which is a personal statement. So, just get ready to write, baby, if you're applying to film school. Not only are you doing the general app for the school, as we already discussed, but you're applying to a very specific program, very competitive program, tiny acceptance rate. That's something that weighed me down a lot throughout the application process, because USC was, like, at the end of the day, my dream school. It's the best film school for undergrads in the country. maybe even in the world. It was a long shot, and I think it's important to keep that in mind while also not discouraging yourself, because your voice and your stories matter whether or not they're recognized by an institution. So here's my personal statement for the specific School of Cinematic Arts at USC. The posters hang flipped in my closet. Among the "Great Show" and "I love yous," Liana's name appears most. When Liana picks me up for jazz rehearsal, she wears these massive sunglasses, just incredible. I can see her from a mile away. The Sharpie signatures bleed through to the art on the other side. Little Women the Musical and Shrek the Musical and 1776 the Musical, marred by names I've loved. Mila Perez, Jesse Keister, Ryan Mock, Cheapo. When the sun wakes, they hang there, dried flowers in my mess of second-hand glitter shirts. Trousers. I was neat once. I stand in a laundry pentagram and trace their names. When you leave the closet, the latch is broken. It has been since my first night in the room, and does not bode well with midnight murder podcasts. Tread lightly, or you might miss the desk. It's a right turn. There's a purple pinch pot Abby made in kindergarten. During those first few months, pots and pans were our primary means of bonding. We got home from China, we signed the adoption papers, we were sisters, making banana splits in an early 2000s play kitchen. I always swore we'd have a real banana split, gourmet Dairy Queen, when we got older. We haven't. Under the pinch pot, there's a receipt for Old Chicago, which we went to because Chili's was booked, which we went to because Cheddar's was full. James had cold penne marinara from the store. His pancreas is sick, so he eats blandly. We've christened it Sally. How was Sally's appointment today, James? Has Sally fallen ill again? The answers are always not good and yes. The night at Old Chicago was that of the homecoming game. I can't remember if we won, but Luke drove to the stadium and got us very lost. After, we got coffee and listened to music on the highway, loudly. I felt real. Make a slight left turn this time. Every time I turn left, I think of the Doctor Who episode, aptly named Turn Left, with Catherine Tate and David Tennant. It's all about how our lives would change if we had, sometime in the past, made a marginally different decision. I think about that a lot too. How life would be different if I hadn't tried keto at 13. How life would be different if kids hadn't told Yoav from 5th grade or Veronica from 9th grade they should kill themselves. How life would be different if I'd kissed people when I wanted to. But this is a departure. You've turned left. The bookshelf you arrive at is full of other people's decisions. Decisions to give and to buy and to give away. Most of my books are secondhand. This is partially because new books are shockingly expensive, and partially because inscriptions from strangers are my favorite thing. I have books For David, Love Mom, Christmas, 1984. I have books belonging to My Soulmate, June Martin, and Chris Billings for his birthday, and books no longer property of Seattle Public Library. And I suppose June Martin broke up with her soulmate. And I suppose the book My Sister, the Serial Killer, had one too many coffee stains to meet library standards. These books are mine now, and I love them. I lend them, I forget to finish them. By now, you've doubtless noticed the smell. It is everywhere in the room, in the rocking chair cushions, under the bed, clinging to the walls. I can't escape popcorn. This is what happens working 35 hours at the movie theater a week, spelled Theatre and not Theater, because it's AMC, and it's darling, it's posh. The water costs $7.59. It's hard work with shifts ending around 3 a.m. on Marvel weekends. I stay because of the free movies and because of the people. There's Savion, who hid a Spider-Man figurine on the awnings above concessions. His boyfriend replicates horror movie posters in acrylic. I stay for Kiera, who has the most beautiful laugh I've ever heard, and for Sierra, whose phone screen matches Kiera's. I stay for scraping barbecue sauce off the floor with Jace, and playing 2 a.m. hide-and-seek with Jace, and driving home with Jace. Popcorn in my room, my skin, is worth it. Can you picture it? My skin. There's a burn on my right arm, a 400-degree popper at the theater. There are rashes I brought into being, a byproduct of chronic excoriation, rings I wear so people will know I may be bi, ghosts of brushes with kids I've grown up with. I can feel my fingers wiping away Dylan's 3rd grade tears. I'm so excited to see what they will do, these people I've known since I was 6. Where Milana will model, and whether Leyland will play football in college, and what strange octopuses March will find in the Black Sea. But it makes me feel choked up too. No one seems sad enough that come May we may never see each other again. Sometimes I sit on the floor and contemplate this in my messy depression room. The sunset filters over the Rocky Mountains. I feel orange as a light on my popcorn skin. The sky is my favorite part of every day. I love how it rises and how it is blue and how it melts down again into liquid gold at the end. I love the everyday. And at the end of the day, the stories I've told are those I want to tell. Small stories, specific, that only matter in retrospect. I want to tell stories about tiny adventures and people who have loved people, lost people, sunsets. I will tell stories about the strangers who wrote my books, stories as local as the bedroom you visited today, and as far as the strange octopuses in the Black Sea. In film, I will help people see worlds. I will make people know they are loved. So my personal statement, as hopefully you gathered, was a tour of my room. Try a form or a hermit crab essay. So for example, the greater theme is the everyday, small stories that I want to tell, and how I encapsulate that is in a bedroom tour and showing you people that matter to me and where I live and how that living looks. Find something creative that will make you stand apart but that feels true to you. Next, we've got the portfolio. So I know this whole thing is called a USC creative portfolio, but they asked, at least this past year, for a creative portfolio list. So they want to know things you've done that are creative, and they don't have to just be film. And again, I would suggest not making them just film, because you want to show that you are a multifaceted individual. So what I did is split my portfolio list into sections. I have film and television, audiobook production, writing, and performing arts. And I'm not going to read you all of those, they're boring, but effectively what I did was give a date that I made the product or worked on a collaboration or project, the title of the project, the medium it was, whether it was digital video, an audiobook, commentary journalism, etc. And then I gave a short description of the purpose of the project and what it was created for. I just say make sure you're showing off your whole person, not just who you are as a filmmaker. Last but not least, the section I want to talk about today before discussing my overall experience applying to USC Film School is the concept. You need to have a feature concept, and you're effectively pitching an idea you have for a movie or for a TV series. This was difficult for me because I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to write pitches for films. I leaned into the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. I had fun with it, and I picked something weird. And what I mean by that is you do not have to be coming up with the best film proposal of all time when you're a senior in high school or whenever you're applying to film school. Hopefully you will not be making the best films of your life when you're super young. Hopefully there are things to come. So have fun. Pick something that you are genuinely interested and passionate about. Mine is weird, and you're gonna find that out soon enough. So mine is a feature documentary concept, and my running title was The Bathroom Off Green. Hallways at Grandview High School are named by color. Red is the English hall, for example. Green, social studies. In each hallway there is a bathroom named accordingly. The blue bathroom, the yellow bathroom, the red bathroom, the green. People go to the bathroom for many reasons at Grandview High School. Whether they're using the facilities, vaping, smoking, ditching class, or eating lunch, the bathroom is a constant in their otherwise chaotic day. In a building that churns out graduates, reducing 4 years to a slip of paper, the bathroom is comparatively permanent. People write here. In the green bathroom specifically, people have full conversations on stall walls. In pencil and Sharpie, on fresh paint and words painted over, you'll find 1. Comments about Jessica Rabbit being, quote, a whole MILF. 2. Debates over who has the floppiest hair, Harry Styles or Louis Tomlinson. 3. People questioning their sexuality and anonymity. 4. Hello Kitty stickers. 5. A tally chart of who suffers from depression, the categories being yeah and nah. 6. Motivational quotes such as A. Shit gets hard but stay strong, and B. Do it or don't do it. You'll regret both. There are rants about the unfairness of school, being exhausted and wanting partners. There are little tallies behind toilet paper holders for each year a student has been at Grandview. There are drawings that could get you detention and a whole bunch of hearts. In this documentary, I would love to explore the culture of bathroom stalls, the space they provide students to connect and express themselves, and the idea of wanting to make a mark. It would also be a comedy. I have this dream of interviewing random people as they enter and exit the bathrooms about their experiences with high school restrooms. For example, everyone knows facilities in the performing arts hall have big gaps between stall doors. People can definitely see you in there doing your business. I'd like to ask why they're there, besides the obvious, exploring why kids ditch class and why the bathroom is such a chosen refuge. I'd also be interested in interviewing the janitorial staff in charge of cleaning each and every night. They have to deal with or willfully ignore the teenage angst and emotions spewed across those stalls. They're a largely unseen but critical part of our school and receive very little recognition. It would be incredible to hear from their perspectives. Incorporating intersectionality into stories is super important to me. Largely, our janitorial staff is Latine. I would love not only to interview them, but to do so in their native languages, including, but not limited to, Spanish and Nahuatl. This documentary would be about the unseen and the tucked away, the small connections we make in anonymity. It would be a critique of high school and its hierarchies and an investigation into teenage culture. I also think it has the potential to be hilarious. People need to laugh, especially in the throes of their teenage years. Beyond any comical insights students may provide via an interview, the mere image of them standing before a bland, white brick wall, a tiny hand dryer humming in the corner, sinks with broken sensors spurting on randomly, makes me laugh. Be weird. Have fun with it. It does not need to be your ET. Same me, different day. Thus concludes my USC creative portfolio for the film production BFA. That was definitely one of the more intensive portfolios I had to make. I'd actually say UCLA was the one that took me the most time because they require more writing and no film, whereas the USC creative portfolio, in addition to what we just went over, required about a 5-minute film. I think you also had a writing option. I went with the film that's posted on my YouTube. It's called Goose Has a Birthday, because I'm incapable of giving human characters human names. Overall, my experience applying to USC was pretty streamlined. It is expensive to apply. I think it was about $60 to $90, but my fee was waived because my dad is a veteran. I did have an interview with a professor, an adjunct professor, in the directing subset of SCA, which I hadn't read about on any of the Reddit forums I pored over when I was anxious and nervous and lying awake at night. But it ended up going really well. It was an hour and a half, I want to say. I thought it would be a 30-minute interview, so I did it on my break at work, which was a whole fiasco in itself. But it was a great interview. Eventually, my main actress, Sophia Dotson, got connected with that professor, so I think she might get a cool opportunity from this film. It was really awesome in general, and I would highly recommend applying even if you don't think you'll get in, because you never know. I made a whole video about why I'm not going to USC, which you can definitely check out on my channel, but I thought it might be valuable to hear from someone who decided to go to USC and that it was the right fit for them. So I reached out to my friend Taylor. She was my best friend in middle school, and she's going to USC as a history major, which is fantastic. She sent me a video. I'm going to play that for you. I hope it's helpful and gives you a bit of a balanced perspective.
Hi, my name is Taylor Altman, and I will be attending the University of Southern California this fall. One thing that attracted me to USC was actually the students. So I met this girl in line at a coffee shop during my tour of campus last spring, and she really sold me on USC. She was personally very enthusiastic about campus and being part of the USC community. And honestly, that made a huge impact because I wanted to go to a college where students enjoyed being there. Secondly, the financial deal was actually very good for me. With my outside scholarship, it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. And then lastly, the location also really sold me. So USC was the only out-of-state school that I applied to. And I realized that it is in LA, so it is a very different city than Denver and very different city than where I live now. But I do feel like it will push me out of my comfort zone to meet a lot of different people, to really put myself out there. And I think that is something that I needed to challenge myself with. I am studying international relations. I was going to study history as my major, but I'm trying to transfer to international relations. And this is because I really like to understand the world on the global scale. I like learning about different cultures, and I like learning about different countries. So I do feel like international relations is a good choice for me. I will still be studying history as a minor though, and hopefully Chinese as well, because those are two subjects that I'm very passionate about and I have always been passionate about, so I want to keep that in my grad plan. And then lastly, personally, I'm really excited about just meeting a lot of different people. I'm actually staying at the international dorm, and 3 of my roommates are from Mexico, which are pretty exciting because that's a different country. I just really want to meet different people, learn their stories, learn their background, and just have a good time. So yeah, that's why I am going to USC. That's what I'm excited about, and that's what I'm studying.
And with that, I'm going to send you on your way. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to go get a haircut because I leave for college today's Thursday, I leave on Sunday, so 3 days. It's crazy. It's crazy.